All right, welcome back to this week's Walk and Talk then. And I have got some insane news. I know we seem to say that every week, but I've got some insane news to share with you this week. In fact, when I saw it, I had to check this out on a reputable news source because I thought, no, this is someone winding me up here with this new dystopian announcement. So we'll get to that in a moment, but it's pretty busy today actually. We are on the Isle of Man. We're walking up Marine Drive and it is extremely busy. Lots of people driving, walking, because it's 23 degrees Celsius today. What's that? I think that's 73 degrees in Fahrenheit for the Americans watching. And it's so bright that I'm definitely going to need my sunglasses. Not good visibility actually out to the sea today, but it's beautiful all the same. So here's what we're going to talk about. UK news, US, we've got a lot to cover about the US today. China, what's happening there, and a couple of weird stories as well, which we'll get to at the end. I know you guys love the weird ones, and I will not disappoint today because we've got some really weird stuff happening. All right, I was going to start with all the US because there's so much. There's only a couple of UK stories today, but we're going to start with the UK and get this out of the way because this announcement, what? Oh my goodness. The UK government has now passed these new energy bill proposals into law, or I think it comes into law on Tuesday. You will not believe how insane this is. Let me just read this out. New energy rules, this is a headline. There's a lot of headlines on it, but this one I found here. New energy rules face fines or prison sentences for UK citizens. The new energy bill proposes stricter energy efficiency regulations, and people who refuse to reduce their energy consumption as directed by the authorities, we love that word, don't we, will suffer severe penalties, including up to a year in prison and £15,000 fines for property owners who don't comply. No, this is not a wind-up. I am not joking. This is 100% legitimate. That's why I said this is so crazy that it's just unbelievable what they have passed here. So the first thing I asked was, well, who are these authorities and what authority do they actually have over us? That is the main question here. Who has given these people the authority over us to say what our energy consumption should or should not be? And who is dictating these rules? Well, it's coming from the usual places, WEF and the United Nations, who are setting out the new energy policies for wealthy G7 countries. So it's going through the G7 first. I mean, the UK is such a small island compared to the rest of the world. You know, it's just insane what they are doing here. It is becoming a dystopian nightmare for UK, and it will be European citizens as well. It is absolutely, it's same. Canada, the USA. I was watching a documentary yesterday on Canada, and wow, it blew me away with the things that are going on in Canada, which even I wasn't aware of. I knew it had gone extremely woke, but I didn't know it had gone that bad. Some of the things were crazy. Maybe I'll do a live stream and talk about some of those things over the next few days if I get the time. Now, in regards to this new law as well, if you're not from the UK, there's two main parties. You've got the Conservative Party and you've got the Labour Party. So typically people would say that the Conservative is more right-wing and the Labour Party is more left-wing. If you're an American trying to figure out, you know, how these political parties sit, that's how most people would say that it sits. So the Conservative Party have said that they are opposing the bill, citing concerns over the criminalisation of home ownership and lack of parliamentary oversight. So what they're saying is that this isn't being passed by government and parliament. They're saying that the councils have been given special powers, and it's not quite clear. I'm going to have to dive into this a lot deeper to find out who has given the local cities these exceptional powers if it isn't the government, although they call it government because they say a council is local government. So who exactly is giving them these powers to put people in prison if they don't reduce their energy consumption? And there's no guidelines on this that are very clear at the moment. It's just they're starting to pass these announcements now. It is absolutely insane. And when I get home, my wife's going to say, I told you to put on sunscreen today, Neil. I didn't really think it would be this sunny, actually. I'm probably getting burned already. So they're saying that this legislation aims to update and strengthen existing EPC. Someone's stopping. Yeah.
Hello, how are you doing?
All right, I completely lost my place now because this guy just stopped there and wanted to chat, subscriber, big fan, etc. So I don't know where I got to, but I think I was talking about EPCs. These are energy performance certificates. So they're basically weaponizing EPCs. And we knew this was going to happen when they started saying you need an F rating, now you need an E rating in order for your home to be compliant and all this sort of stuff. So there's just no way that some of this housing stock can ever become compliant. It's just not possible at all, especially if you've got these sort of World War II style housing, don't have insulation, wall insulation. They just don't, they're not going to meet these requirements that is being set out now. And they're talking about the United Nations as well. They're talking about net zero targets, that everyone has to meet these net zero targets. But I'm wondering how much of this is just a money-making scheme as usual, because they're talking about all these big fines here. I think they just want to make more money, and that's all this is. This whole thing is about more money. Yes, they've done a great way to disguise it all, but it's really just about control, getting greater control over people, passing, and they use the disguise of the whole COVID and lockdowns to pass all these emergency measures, which, remember, they never give these emergency measures back. So they've passed all these emergency measures now. They're using them to put greater control over people with the climate and everything. And remember, they said this before. They said that they were going to be using all the lessons learned from COVID and the lockdowns, and they were now going to be using these lessons on the climate. So that is what we're now seeing, and I did not expect them to pass prison sentences and £15,000 fines for people who have too much energy usage. It is just unbelievable. And talking of unbelievable, well, not unbelievable to you because I already made this forecast last year, log burners. Yep, guess what's happening to log burners? Here's the next article. Fines for log burners. Bristol City Council is proposing fines of £175 to £300 for households emitting more than 3 grams, so that's basically nothing, of smoke per hour from log burners. But it's not really reasonable because, well, it's crazy in the first place, but they're not sort of distinguishing between those people who live in the city. Maybe there's very dense houses in the city, and maybe there's, all sorts of pollution issues or childhood asthma or whatever else is there. Well, they're not really distinguishing between that and people who live really rurally. And it's the same with a lot of these councils that are talking about this at the moment. They're not distinguishing between people who live rurally and people who live in the cities. Even here, they're talking about in the future banning fossil fuels and stuff like that, and that we need to bring pollution levels down. What pollution? Seriously, look, what pollution are they talking about? Someone, please give them a knock on the head here. It's unbelievable. It's mainly rural. This whole island is mainly rural, with a city like Douglas. There is not high levels of crazy pollution. It's just unbelievable what they are. And the thing is, this stuff is easy to check anyway. You can just check the pollution indexes and the air quality indexes online, and it will tell you, it will actually show you what the pollution levels are like. It's like when we looked at London with the ULEZ. The levels are low as it is. They have come down since all these new legislation passed before the ULEZ. But you look at the underground, and that is where the pollution levels are really, really high. So they're not talking about this stuff. Hi. So this is the stuff they're not really going into in detail. But there we go anyway. That is the UK stuff. It's absolutely crazy, the new things that they are passing here. It is getting absolutely dystopian. Let's move over to credit cards then. This is serious, guys, really serious. This is why I keep, and I know I got loads of backlash and criticism and people made fun of it and everything about what I said about credit cards, but it has now come to fruition. You know, for me, this isn't rocket science, it's just psychology. And it is, I feel bad. I really do feel bad now for the people that are stuck in this mess, and it's getting worse and worse. Highest interest rates in decades, and the highest delinquency rates in decades. These charts, it's unbelievable. It is off the charts what is happening here. Here's a couple of stats there. Delinquency rates are rising, reaching 10.6% in July. 10.6% delinquency rate on credit cards, with the average credit card balance rising 20% since last year. It's now almost not since last year, since Q2 of this year. Yes, 20% since Q2 of this year, almost $6,000. And now we've got the student loan payments due, we've got all these high levels of inflation, we've got all these other things happening at exactly the same time. This is insane now, what is taking place. This is a credit crisis that exists, but everyone's pretending that it doesn't exist. Don't fall into this trap, my friends, or else you are going to get in so much trouble if you fall into this trap. As always, try your best, do whatever you can possible to pay down these credit cards, especially if they are high rates and you're going over the monthly time period, i.e. if you normally pay it at the end of the month and you haven't paid it at the end of the month and now you've got 20% interest on that, that is compounding massively. Do not fall into that, believe me. It is, it's not good. And I can just share a couple of things that I did when I was, well, it was a long time ago now when I was younger, and the debt was so heavy, such a burden on me, because what do we know? When you're a debtor, you become slave to the lender. It's very clear about that. So what did I do? I took whatever I could find in I think it was an apartment back then, but whatever possessions I had that I don't really use that often or didn't need, I just sold those possessions and used that to pay off my credit card. So honestly, if you're in that position, I would look to do the same. Just do something, even if you have to, find some extra cash, just get that paid off, because it's better that you let the money compound, maybe in a money market fund or something like that. They're paying pretty good rates at the moment, which is causing a mass liquidity crisis and exodus for the banks, because the banks are paying so little and the money markets are paying 5 to 6%. Hi there. All right. They're paying so little, the banks are, the money markets are paying 5 or 6%. So they're having this liquidity crisis, and it's getting worse and worse for the banks. And now the FDIC have just come out and given a warning about the liquidity. And if you're in my private community, you normally find out about this stuff way before everyone else anyway, because I talked about it on this month's monthly macro video, which was about 45 minutes long. It's a good video. But basically, the FDIC chair has said that bank liquidity has dropped for the 5th consecutive quarter, and that these banks now, it's interesting that because remember, they have to be a master of how they say things. They basically said the crap is about to hit the fan with these banks, especially with the commercial mortgages and all the commercial real estate and stuff. But they said it in a different way so that you don't worry. So they said all that, and they said, but don't worry, because we're going to come to the rescue if this happens. It was basically that. Yeah, good luck with that. Is that why they're asking all these big banks to pay more into the FDIC? Because they've said that there just isn't enough liquidity. And honestly, I know I've said this a lot, but when it comes to liquidity in your finances in general, don't leave it up to other people. Don't leave it up to these big conglomerates that don't care about you. Don't leave it up to the government to look after you, because whoa, I've never seen that before. A huge whale just right in the middle there, just jumped out of the water. I cannot believe that, and I'm really sorry that you missed it, but I got to see it. It was beautiful. But a lovely view though anyway. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful view. Yeah, where did I get to there? Oh yeah, don't leave all this stuff to chance with these big companies, and you've got to learn as well the government loopholes around tax. Legal loopholes is what I'm talking about here. You've got to do this legally. Gosh, any busier today is typical. The one day I'm filming and up here, and it's just non-stop people. But yeah, that's why I created my course for you, the psychology of wealth accumulation. And I saw, I mean, a lot of people, amazing testimonies coming in now, so please continue to send in your testimonials. I've been getting testimonials from all sorts of people, all walks of life, who've said how much it's helped them, helped their families as well. Some people started it on their own, and now they've got their husband or their wife or their children watching the course with them as well. Just incredible testimony so far. So I would highly recommend, if you haven't yet taken it, that you do take the course. There's a link below in the description. It is still on the promotion right now. I usually do the promotion for the first few weeks before increasing the price. So definitely get that promotion right now, especially if you like these videos and you get a lot from these videos. Imagine what you're going to get from a full course that has everything I know about money and macro and wealth in there. It's going to be absolutely life-changing for you. And if it's not, just let me know and I'll give you a refund on the course. So I can't really say fairer than that, can I? If you don't like it, you can watch up to half the course and I'll give you a refund. So the link's below. So let's move over to the US then, and this is the biggest story of today. And here's the headline: city overrun with homelessness. Casper, Wyoming is facing a significant homelessness crisis, with homeless individuals causing widespread property damage and destroying a lot of property, leaving needles everywhere, drug usage, 500 pounds. I don't even know what that is in kilos, but it's a lot. It's what, 220 kilos or something as a guess, of human feces has been left in public areas, which has had to be removed. And the mayor has said that this is responsible for an explosion like he's never seen before in crime in the city. And they've even taken over this hotel. Let me throw a couple of pictures up on screen here, and just really destroyed this beautiful, beautiful hotel. But the mayor's saying that he's only got so many powers in order to remove them. So they're looking at passing a new law that will stop homelessness in the area. But what's that going to do though? It's just going to push it elsewhere. It's like I was mentioning with that documentary I was watching on Canada, and also San Francisco, California, etc. Legalizing drug usage and legalizing petty crime, although $950, is that really petty crime? This is a recipe for disaster. It's obvious what's going to happen. And I saw a comment which made me laugh out loud, and it was something about Gavin Newsom has done such a great job in San Francisco. He wants to run for president in the future, and he'll probably do the same to the rest of the US. And it was, this person was genuine. They genuinely thought he'd done a great job in California. And I just thought, wow, imagine if the whole of the US went like San Francisco and California. Good luck. I think there would be a mass exodus. You talk about people going across the Mexican border, US border. No, it'd be Americans going the other way. They would be flowing across that border like crazy. All right, let's turn around here then. Start walking back. Another insane article that's come out this week then is about these ESG risks. So I wasn't even aware of all of these claims now, these court claims. It wasn't 190 previously last year claims with all the ESG and companies getting in trouble and climate people suing them and all sorts of other things. This is now increased from 190 up to 2,341 of these claims just in 1 year alone. Go on. I'm doing my walk and talk right now. Yeah, see you later. See you later. Oh man, this is like the 4th time on this walk now that I've been stopped by people which is great. I love it when my subscribers stop me and say hi and everything, but I keep losing my place. So where did I get to? Okay, let's just jump to the next story because I don't know where I am now. Biden and Harris, very interesting. So Kamala Harris has recently said that she's ready to step in for Biden due to, hold on, let me read this out so I get it correct here. Due to concerns over Biden's mental fitness and age. And there was a Wall Street Journal poll where 60% of people, yeah, you really believe it was 60%, more like 95%, said that Biden is not mentally up for the job. So they did a poll and they asked about all these incidents of him, you know, where he says strange stuff, or he falls off a bike, or, you know, a stationary bike, and you know, all this sort of stuff. And apparently only 40% said, oh yeah, he's 100%, you know, no worries at all. I'm not sure about that. It's a bit like these poll numbers where they've just done a poll and they say that for the next election, it's pretty much neck and neck between Trump and Biden. They're giving them the exact same score. Yeah, I don't know about that one. What I find weird though is that the Dems haven't put up a candidate really to challenge. Well, it's going to be Trump, isn't it, in the next election? I mean, I can't see any of the others. Some of them pretty strong candidates, but I just can't see them beating Trump at this next election. I really can't. And remember, I called it on the last one as well, where I said that Trump would beat Hillary, and that's exactly what happened. And those odds were so far out. That was 3 years before the election. So we'll see. Another story then which affects not just the US, but everyone globally. Remember we talked about the oil price, and I said that everyone's getting this wrong. And it's really all about the oil price. It's not about some of these other things with inflation, and that the inflation's come down because the oil price came down. Well, actually what we've seen now is the oil price is going back up quite heavily. So it's over $90 a barrel at the moment. So this is adding huge upward pressure on the oil price. So that's going to feed into inflation as well. People seem to be naive about this and don't realize that that is exactly what's going to happen. And remember, I said before about the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and that why were they letting it run out? Why not just refill it? Well, now they've got to refill it at this new super high rate, 350 million barrels they need. It's going to cost them $30.5 billion, whereas before it was just going to be a fraction of that. So that's your taxpayer money that has caused this, with all these new mandates and energy destruction and all this other stuff, which doesn't really make much sense, because the US is energy independent, or at least it should be if they allowed themselves to be. Okay, this video is getting way too long now already, so let's just skip China today and let's go on to the weird stuff at the end. First one then, lab-grown fruit. Why do you need to grow fruit in a lab, like, you know, Beyond Meat growing meat in a lab? Why? I mean, this is bizarre. What's cheaper, having a tree and leaving it there and letting it grow fruit, or doing all these expensive processes in a lab to grow fruit? It doesn't make any sense. And what are they saying? It's for climate change. Yes, it's to help with carbon net zero. How on earth? I have absolutely no idea. It doesn't sound legitimate to me, but hey, we'll see. So let's cover the last insane story then and we'll wrap up. Human cloning. No, this isn't sci-fi, this isn't Star Trek, this isn't a joke, this is legitimate. Scientists at the Weizmann Institute have successfully created a synthetic embryo model using stem cells which closely resembles a real 14-day-old human embryo, even releasing hormones that triggered a positive pregnancy test in the lab. So what are they doing? They are essentially cloning a human. So this brings up a lot of ethical and legal questions as well now around this. All right, we're getting back into the busy area now, so I don't want to be shouting around all these people because I speak quite loud. So thank you so much for watching today. Thanks for being a subscriber here, and definitely check out the course, The Psychology of Wealth Accumulation. Remember, it's not just about money, it's about your life in general, having a much more happy and fulfilled life. Don't just work for the government for half the year like most people do. All right, thanks so much. Take care. God bless you guys and your family, and I will see you on the next video. See you then. I'm still eating my apples, by the way, and guess what? I made a friend. Even he likes the apples. So the horses now and the seagulls like my apples.